Welcome, everyone, to this beautiful, beautiful Monday. And happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers, because I didn't get to say hello to you yesterday, but we're saying hello to you today. I trust it was a great time and perhaps that you got some rest. Rest is important for mothers, I think. But this morning, let's take a look because I realized the urges of returning to the old habit. Oh, you know when you hear where the force is stronger.
If you're talking, we can't hear you. You're on mute. Okay.
Oh Lord, really? That is so bad. Well, let's do it again. I know Twitter could hear me and YouTube. And base, I'm sorry. Okay. The urges of the past. Let's talk about that. You know when you want to change and you're going about your day and you're doing the new thing and you've got the new attitude on. And then this little thought creeps into the back of your mind and says to you, "Are you sure? Oh, you think you can change? Oh, but how many times have you tried and failed? Oh, you think you got it this time?" And you hear the laugh, right? Now, we've all dealt with that. So, when you're dealing with it, the key is not to fight it. Oh, you don't need to fight it because the moment you engage, right? Because it makes you feel, it makes you feel bad actually when you, that we call it the inner critic, is what they call it. But really, what it is, it's the habit and the urge from the past because it's still pretty strong because you haven't been doing the new way longer. So, if you can remember that when you hear those things in the back of your mind, if you can remember, wait a minute, I know why I feel like I'm being taunted because I haven't been doing the new attitude longer than the old. And what that will do, it will help you to not fight and struggle against the old. Because what happens when you turn towards the old and fight it? It has your full attention. And when something has your full attention, it has you. So, if you can remember that you're learning the new way, and eventually the new way will become stronger and it will silence the old. If you can remember that part and be encouraged by that, well, then you will bolster yourself to say, I hear you, but here's who I am. And you begin to tell yourself who you are. You begin to tell yourself what you're learning. You begin to remind yourself how far you've come. Because why? You're putting your attention on those things and you're reinforcing those things. And the more that you do that part, remember, as Neville says, things wither and die for want of attention. It's always going to be the attention. So when you start hearing the, you'll never change. Oh, you're just like your mother. When you start hearing that come up in the back of your mind, you can clearly tell yourself, wait a minute. I haven't been wearing my new attitude long enough. Well, let me engage with my new attitude. How does my new attitude make me feel? And you begin to feel your new attitude. Begin to feel your new attitude. Begin to engage with your new attitude. Let me tell you something. The mental battlefield is the hardest battle you will fight. That's why you got to know how to fight by not fighting. Because if you turn around and engage with the, well, look at how many times you failed and you think this time is different. If you turn around and look at that grabs you again, and it makes you feel like giving up because it has your attention. Now, you're not pretending that it isn't there when you acknowledge that it's come up. You can't pretend. You have to acknowledge that it's there. But then you also acknowledge that it is only an old attitude. And the only reason why it seems so strong is a drowning man will clutch at a straw. It's trying not to be overridden if you want to give it a personality. You know how we are as people. We like to give everything a personality. So if you give your old habit a personality, it will remind you, see your new habit? That's the one that needs your time. That's the one that needs your attention. That's the one that needs your practice. Because sooner rather than later, it will become your new attitude. And if that's the one that you want to use to help you through this next phase of your life, you've got to let it get stronger. And it gets stronger by practice. So when you start to practice the new and give your attention to the new, you silence the old, not by resisting it, but by putting your attention elsewhere. You take the power away from it. Oh, believe me, listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I had a crack habit because I didn't. I didn't have no meth habit. I didn't have those kinds of habits. But don't get it twisted. Each and every one of us have habits. And depending on the strength or how long you've been doing that habit, right? That's what makes it powerful for you. So if you can remember that the only reason the habit that keeps rearing its head for you is there is because you have practiced it for a long time. And not just practiced it, you practiced it without questioning it. Because if you think about it, most of the habits that we have practiced were coping mechanisms from the past, from our childhood. We have to learn to cope with things. And so we developed habits to help us cope. But now that you're an adult, you're looking back at your life and you're saying, wait, that thing isn't working for me anymore. So how do I let it go? You see, we think of letting go as giving this thing our attention and we're going to fight it and struggle against it and push through and push through. But the easiest way to let go of something is to embrace the new thing. Because you can't serve two masters, right? When you pick up the new thing and you start doing it and practicing it, where are you practicing the old? You're not. So that's how you, quote unquote, let go. And as I said to you, the mental battle is the hardest shit you'll ever deal with because it's the only thing to deal with. That's why we've got to develop our resilience, our focus, our attention, so that when we turn our attention to the new thing, the desire to accomplish the new is so strong, you will overpower the old in no time. But you won't overpower it by fighting it. You'll overpower it by embracing the new way. And the way to embrace the new, the desire to be better. You hear that? The desire to change must be stronger than the desire to remain the same. This is why when you hear some people talk to you and they say, look, I just got up one morning and I knew it was done. Why? Because the desire to change was so powerful. It propelled them forward. Because you see, we don't necessarily give enough credit to the desire, because sometimes we've heard throughout our lives desire is bad. Really? So if you want to become something different because you don't want to be that anymore, don't hate the old way understand what the old way was. The old way served you and you knew no better. But you see, the new way will take you the other side of the distance that you want to go. So love that more. Be aroused by accomplishing your task. That's what you want to do so that it has your full attention. And you say, oh, yeah, this feels real good. This is so exciting. I can hardly wait. This is what I see myself doing. And when you see yourself doing it, it makes you feel a particular way. And when you feel that way, what do? You linger in the new way as you linger in the arms of a lover. You look at your clock and you say, oh my God, is it time to leave already? Right? That is how we do it. A question just popped up in the chat. Here is a perfect example of worrying mhm, and overcoming the worry. Oh, this part. The question is, I'm trying to manifest a doctor's appointment by a certain date and month. However, I am unable to get the appointment even when affirming with the conviction it's still not being into fruition. Question 1, has the date passed? And here's how we deal with this part. Oh, because I know so well. You have to live your life. You have clearly stated what the date and time would be that is preferable to you. You have clearly set the date and the time that is necessary to get the things done. Go out and live now. Why? If you stay in the surroundings that say it's not here yet and you're watching the clock, you're watching the calendar, you're not living. So what you've done now, in essence, is put a bend in the hose. You picked up the hose, which is life, and you have a bend in it. Nothing can flow to you or from you when you do that because your attention is on the worry. You're in a state of worry. So, to get yourself from the state of worry, you must live your life, do your chores, because if your mind is elsewhere occupied, you won't have time to worry. And if you don't have time to worry, you're not choking off who could be calling to cancel an appointment. Let me give you an example. When I was pregnant 15 years ago, I didn't have a midwife at the time. I called the midwife and she said, I'm sorry, we have no availabilities because you have to start at 12 weeks, right? So she says, we don't have any availabilities. I said, none. She says, well, I could put you on a wait list. She goes, but the way things are, that's not possible. She said, the only way you will get in is if somebody dies or somebody moves away. Those were the two options she gave me. And I said, here's my name and number for the wait list. Back in the day, 15 years ago, I did not know the law deliberately. I did not. But, because I didn't even have my OBGYN either. So I was free floating. I had nothing. But at only 12 weeks, I got work to do. So I just went about doing my job, my chores. And, sometimes you get it in the back of your mind, whew, hope this thing works out. Oh, we having this baby alone. Yeah, that came up. But I got so consumed in the work that I was doing. I was a receptionist. It was so busy at the clinic. It was a herbalist. And it was so busy. One day, I forget how many weeks later it was, either 4 or 6 weeks. I get a phone call. And she said to me, is this Angela? I said, yeah. I said, wait, tell me nobody died. She said, no, somebody moved away. And I was like, cool. And I got in. Now, unlike you, I didn't have a timeline. But the longer you go in your pregnancy without certain things, you know, So, what I'm saying to you is engage your mind and your time elsewhere, because now it opens up a lot of things to happen. But when you worry and you fret, listen, I have a PhD in worrying, so I know what I'm telling you. When you are in the throes of worry and fretting, you cut off a supply of things coming towards you. It can't come towards you because your attention is otherwise engaged. How? With the worry. So, worry, the state of worry does not bring free flow. The state of worry brings other things to worry about. So, if you go into a different state mentally, okay, look, I know I'm worried, but I know what the law says. I planted the seed for the date and the time. There's nothing more I can do. I have done everything within my power, which is to set the date and the time. You know that meme that was out there when the guy at the reservation desk goes, "It's above me now." You know when he said that, it's above me now. Well, it's above you now. There's nothing you can physically do to force it to happen. So every night that you fall asleep, you give thanks that everything has worked out. That is what you do at night when you're falling asleep. But as you are going through the day, engage yourself with something else. We've heard idle hands makes the devil's workshop, is what we've heard as children. Idle hands. It doesn't mean idle as in you're not doing anything. It means idle in the fact that you're focused on the worry. So you're not engaging the mind to its fullest capacity. Do something else. Live. Go do your job, do your chores, call your friends, hang out, do that part. And when you do that part, you're letting go of worry. You're letting go of worry. It's just a matter of practice. And that's why I told you guys it's the mental part that is hardest, because you have to combat your own self. You're fighting your own self, because here are the thoughts that come up with that, right? Remember I told you that voice that whispers to you, we call it the inner critic. No, it's just your old habits. Yeah, but what if that doesn't work out? What if the date doesn't happen? Do you have a plan B? What's going to happen? Do you know what you're going to do from there? You drive yourself mad. Don't practice that habit again. Just go out. And I'm not telling you when you go out and live and do the things you need to do that that thought won't arise. It will, but it will not badger you as much as it did before. It won't badger you, right? That's what happens. So when I tell you to free up the space in your mind's eye, you already know what it is. You can't not know it. You can't not know that this thing is necessary for your existence. You know that it is. So once you know, you've just prayed. Once you know and you say, look, this is required, you've just prayed. So what you've done in essence with that prayer, you have projected it outward into the world. It has to take shape. It cannot come back empty. That's the part you've got to trust in. Because when you go out to plant your garden, you're doing the exact same thing. You are selecting the seeds you're putting in the dirt. Can you make it rain? No. Can you make the sun shine? No. Can you make those little roots bust out of the seed? Nope. Nothing you can do there other than turn on the hose. That's it. You can take the weeds out. What are the weeds? You sure that's going to happen? Are you really sure? What if it doesn't happen on time? Those are weeds. We can't stop weeds from growing either. We can just pluck them when we see them. So the same attitude you take towards your gardening, is the same attitude you take towards your life. You get to choose the type of harvest you want by selecting the seeds, and you put them in the ground. But once you put them in the ground, you listen. When the minister says, "I commit this body to the ground," there's nothing else you can do. Nothing else. You have to commit it to the ground because you know from there it's out of your hands. It will sprout. So don't think that your appointment isn't coming to you. It is already there. Remember Daniel? He opened up his window and he turned his face towards Jerusalem. Now we know what that means, don't we? We remember what Neville says because the Bible is psychological. He turned his face towards the acceptance, the inner man as to who he really was. That's Jerusalem. You turn your attention towards who and what you truly are and not what you were molded and shaped into being, which is your coping mechanisms that we've all had. Remember, again, Daniel was in the lion's den. What did he do? He turned his back on the lions. The lions are everything you know. Your appointment, a phone call you're waiting on, those are lions. You have to turn your back on those, not because you're ignoring them or pretending that they're not there. You turn inward to say, listen, it's above me now. I did my part. I did my part. I chose. Well, then, it will return, but it won't return void. It will accomplish what I set it out to do. If you can remember that that's what you've done, then we will find that our inner conversations, especially on the harsh, negative, critical side, will begin to dissipate. So the next time you're out and about, remind yourself. You can do it. You can tell yourself, remind me. Remind me who I am. Remind me that I have the power to choose. Remind me that once I choose, I relinquish any kind of stress from there. The hardest part is to choose. Remind me that you've got me. Who's got you? Call it what you want, has got you. The law, God, whoever. The creator, the all. But once you've chosen, and that is what you wanted to choose, if you change your mind, you can change your mind and choose something else. But once you solidified your choice, how do you solidify your choice? The moment you chose it, it will make a corresponding feeling in your body and say, yeah, that's the one. Because if it didn't, you'd be like, ooh, I don't like that feeling. So no, that's not the one I want. And that is how you do it. And once you make the choice, the same way that bamboo grows for 4 years without the knowledge of anybody, bamboo doesn't grow up for 4 years. It grows down. It bears its roots for 4 years. You can't see anything in that field. Shoot, anybody would have given up after 1 week because normally you see some kind of sprout on the surface, but no, not with bamboo. 4 years in the darkness, it burrows. And then watch it. Once it breaks the surface, 90 days, 60 to 90 days, you can't even walk through that field. It goes from zero to hero in 4 years. Seems like a long time. But it only goes to show you the bamboo farmer was persistent. The bamboo farmer was persistent, and he watered, planted, and weeded for 4 years. Oh, so Angela, you're trying to tell me I gotta wait 4 years for what I want? I'm not saying you have to wait 4 years. I'm saying one must persist in the new way of thinking. So when you begin to persist in your new way of thinking. You see those old urges from the past? They diminish. This is why when uh who was it on the road to Damascus? Saul was on the road to Damascus and he was blinded by God. Or was it Balaam? Balaam beat his ass. He was riding a donkey. But no, it was Paul. Saul, who became Paul. He had scales on his eyes because he refused to see. So clearly he had scales on his eyes. He refused to see. But after he saw internally, the scales fell from his eyes externally so that he could see what he really did. We do the exact same thing. You know, we say, oh, you can't unsee that. Exactly. So when you see what you're doing in your life by trying to fight your old urges, when you see what you're doing there, you'll stop fighting your old urges. How? By reminding yourself that the old way is only a habit, and the more attention you give it, the stronger it becomes. Let us take a brief moment to welcome everyone into the space this morning. Yeah, I'm welcoming you to hush before you fall off the edge, crazy bird. Oh, don't you be persnickety with me. Shh. Here, let's welcome everybody because they're here to see you too. Come. Twitter, who's in the house this morning? Beloved Love Troll, Lady Sigh. It's Symmetric. King Beauty, welcome to the Twitter sphere this morning. It is such a privilege and an honor to be with you. YouTube, Facebook, same thing, because you know I love you. Sugar Visions, Sun, Sonia, A Not, and for the others who've not made themselves known in the chat, I see you. Oh, Lord. Fan base is bumping this morning. Hello, fan base. Who's here? Miss Cherry is here. Afternoon Delight, Dawn, Kelly Native. Hello, Jesse. Miss Boricua? Yes, beautiful. Yes, I see you. Honey is here. Tajane is here. Tannen is here. Malik is here. Joaquin is here. Hello, Britt, darling. Welcome to the space. Substance. Hello. And then Miss McQueen, L, Shea Butter, KZ, Flow, Smiles, Oracle Treehouse, Fawn. All of you are here. Welcome. Lil Bit says hello too. Let me tell you something. He might be itching to start singing his song because his mouth is open. He's ready, but don't let me. No, you're okay. You don't have to sing yet. I know they're probably cheering you on to sing, but I'm saying just give mommy a little bit more time. A little bit more time. Right, handsome? Yes. Anyhow, remember when the thought, when the memory has you in its grip and you feel like you're being taunted, or you think you can change, can't teach you no dog new tricks. You'll be like this forever. Your mommy was this way, your daddy was this way. You know what? We've all heard those things, right? But remember, it is only a past habit that does not want to let you go. That's okay. It doesn't have to let you go, but you let it go because the power is in your hands. And how do you let it go? By giving your full attention to the new attitude that you say you want to embody. That's what you do. When you see it in your mind's eye, you see yourself walking into a new space. You see yourself in a new career. You see yourself in a new place. How are you going to behave? How are you going to do that? You got to see those things in your mind's eye. And when you see them in your mind's eye, this is what we do naturally. You begin to feel it in your body. Indeed, you do. You just get so excited about the new way. Give the new your attention, and you will reduce how much struggle and fight you have to do. Believe me, let me tell you something. I tried for 2 days to make this blooming onion bloom, and let me tell you, it wilted like nobody's business. I have to try a different type of onion. But I said, not anymore. I banished my blooming onion and I made French onion soup instead, because I will not be defeated by a mere onion. Because I wanted to. I wanted to do this. So it seems so trivial, but that's not life, Angela. What I'm trying to show you here is do not be consumed by the perceived hardship. State your change, state your new claim, state your new attitude, and then you put your hands up and you say, it's above me now. Let me see what you can do. And that's what you do. And every time you feel tempted with that urge to say, really? You sure? You? You? Ain't nobody in your family ever been to college? You? Yeah, you know. You know what you've heard. You be an entrepreneur? Yeah, we've all been taunted by those habits and memories of the past. But they only taunt you because they want your attention. But if you withhold your attention by being fully engaged upon your success, the possibility of your success, think about it. You're doing the exact same thing. You're looking at the possibility of your quote unquote failure. So, what's the difference? All you're doing is looking at possibilities. So, why not look at the possibility of your success? Because the possibility of your success makes you feel a particular way. Just like the possibility of your failure makes you feel a particular way. And which way do you want to feel? See what it comes down to? The power rests in your bosom, my friends. The power rests in your bosom. It really does. In your chest, where your heart is. That's what your bosom is. Right? That's what it is. So, what are you going to do today? You going to allow yourself to be taunted? Or will you acknowledge the taunt? You can't, listen, you can't ignore it. You can't pretend that it's not there. So when you hear it, you go, I hear you. But look it over here. Call your name. Call your name. And say, look over here, Angela. You see? You see, this is what you want. Can you see it? How does it make you feel when you see it? You see, because the thing ignored will only holler for a certain amount of time. And then it is silenced after that. So the distance between full acknowledgement of the new attitude, right? So however long it takes for you to call your own name day in and day out, moment by moment, to encourage yourself with your new probabilities and possibilities, that distance is fully determined by you. How long will you allow your old way to taunt you? How long will you fight it? Nothing will wear you out faster than that. So that's why you don't fight it. Turn your attention, hear me when I tell you, whenever you get the worry or the taunting, that's your old state, your old habit, your old way. And you know you don't want that. So you know you want what? You can see it, taste it, touch it, smell it, feel it. Now that's the one you embrace, the new one. And you go there and you entertain all of the possibilities that could possibly come out of that. Explore them all. Because as I told you, you are already doing it, but on the other side. We're already doing the worst case scenarios. And that makes you feel how? That's what I thought. Like you ain't nobody is what it makes you feel like. Nobody knows what you're doing. Why? Because you're in the closet. You're inside your bosom. Nobody can see what you're doing there, and nobody can judge you there. Not a single person. So when you go into that secret place within your bosom and you see and feel and recognize what you want to become, stay in there and entertain it. Stay in there and entertain it. Because when you entertain it long enough, what happens? You get to see it on the outside. And then you know those people will come and say, oh my God, you've changed. Right? Those are the first people. And that's all right. You can smile. Because how? Why? Because you know you were the one that did it in your bosom when nobody could see it. Nobody could see it. But you've got to trust that. You have to trust it. People say, oh, trust the process. What is the process? You reap what you've sown, is the process. So don't think that it is impossible or far-fetched. See the end of it. This is what I want. I saw this woman she made a crochet wedding dress. I'm looking at this picture and I'm like, what in the Sam? Hit what pattern? This woman didn't have a pattern. She's just sitting there and she's got the crochet needle and it's flying, right? Where do you think the pattern was? In her mind. All she was doing was following that pattern in her mind's eye. This piece was done and this piece was done and that piece was done. And then she got the little bust and she started to pin. And then this thing started to take shape and you're like, what the heck? That's what's happening in your life. When you make a choice to be better than what you are, to relinquish the old attitude, that is what you are doing. But if you stop, you just have that one little piece. But that one little piece is just sitting there by itself. Where's the rest of it? You see? And it's unfinished. So what do? You go back to the thing that is finished, the old way. So keep your wits about you. You keep calling your name and telling yourself the goodness of what you are and what you've accomplished. That's what you do. Because you are the one now crocheting these little itty bits and pieces. And when you're done, they come together and they form a most beautiful thing, which is your life, your experience. But if you stop, how are you going to finish if you stop? It has nothing to follow now. This is why we persist in the new attitude. Even though you can hear the whisper or the taunt from back in the recesses of your mind. You don't let it stop you from sewing those pieces together because you know the picture that you're trying to accomplish. But if you remove your attention from what you are sewing and putting together, you will go back to the completed picture, which is the old way that you don't want. So I trust that makes sense for you today. Let me get the bowl. You might get bird song, I don't know. Oh, he's falling asleep. So probably no bird song this morning, but that's okay. This morning, as you hear the bowl, recognize the only opponent is yourself. You're the only opponent. So how does one defeat themselves? You change yourself from the opponent, is what you do. How do you change yourself from that? Acknowledge the battle, acknowledge the struggle, and recognize that it is only a past memory and a past habit. And it doesn't want to leave. It wants to stay. But you're saying, you served me well when I knew no better. But I know better now. You won't die. I'm simply reshaping you into something more beneficial. And you gently tell it that and turn your full attention upon the new thing that you are becoming. This is your new thing. That was my dream last night. My dream, there was a diaper bag with diapers in it. And then I had a tray full of saplings. Sounds like a new beginning to me. I digress. So you see, you're not in this alone. You are, but you aren't. Yeah, because you've got to walk it by yourself. But we are all walking together by ourselves. So we're together as we are alone, paradoxically. So as you hear the bowl this morning, take comfort in knowing you no longer have to struggle or fight, nor did you give up, but you persisted. And as long as you persist, you know what the outcome will be. So keep persisting and build that beautiful dress, that beautiful home. Build it. Yes? Anyhow, you know I do. I can prattle on. I can prattle. Let's not prattle, shall we? Let's play the bowl. Just for, what, 3 minutes? Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Twitter, you know I love you. Facebook, YouTube, you know I love you. Fanbase, fanbase, you know I love you. Thank you all for being here on this lovely Monday. As you go into the world, remember, the power lies in your bosom. Yes? Indeed it does. I will see you tonight. Ooh, there's a series. It's 5 lessons by Neville Goddard. And so in these 5 lessons, I'll read one every night, Monday through Friday, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And he said, if you apply what he's teaching you night after night, by the end of the week, you will see movement in your world. Now there's a Q&A. There's 36 questions. Whew, I'm trying to decide how to break that up. That's like 7 questions after each lecture, right? About that. So we start with lesson 1. Consciousness is the only reality. So if you want to be there for that, that's how we fall asleep at night, hearing those words. So if that's what you want to do tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's where right here is where I'll be. And we'll read that lecture. And then there's 4 more, but we'll have fun reading them because they're always really quite intriguing. But these ones are practical ones. But the Q&A, ooh, some of the questions are on point. You want to be a part of that one because you get the process over and over and over again, Anyway, you do know that I love you, and I look forward to seeing you tonight if you're available. 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we fall asleep in the state of the wish fulfilled. Much love to each and every one of you. Thank you all. Twitter is closed. Let's get that water queued up. YouTube and Facebook. Love you. I'll see you tonight, darlings.